Dear beautiful souls, welcome to this public form of contemplation where I want to discuss with you the great challenges that are arising right now with regards to spiritual awakening and the influence of technology. Now, I remember a while back I watched a video of Ram Dass where he spoke about the idea that technology and the environment that we exist in is part of the spiritual awakening, and that our spiritual awakening happens in the context of this. That is true to some degree, but we will get into that in great detail. Now, some believe spiritual evolution and technological evolution are actually a form of co-evolution, that they coexist and that they bring about together a new state of consciousness. Others will point out the dangers of transhumanism and AI and consider actually the technology a spiritual trap. Now, is it either or is it both? Well, it depends who are the people who, or let's say, the intelligences that are in control, that are disseminating the technology, that are writing the software, that are programming the AI, that are operating in the medical fields where there is an intention of fusing human with technology. It has gone so far that certain public figures in the spiritual field, even certain so-called leaders in the realm of Buddhism, have taken a certain very popular injection publicly on TV as a leader of a whole Buddhist system. That's highly problematic, but we will get into that right now. What many do not know, because this is not public knowledge, is that the Buddhist system was developed after the Atlantean downfall. And the Atlantean downfall was spearheaded at the time by transhumanism. The idea that the human beings, in order to ascend into a higher spiritual state, need to actually use technology and AI and fuse with that to then transcend the human limitation. This led to one of the greatest catastrophes on this planet that ever happened. And of course, it brought Atlantis to its knees, and ultimately it was swallowed under the waves. Back then in Atlantis, there were two major factions. One were the so-called children of the Law of One, and the other faction was called the Sons of Belial. The Sons of Belial did not believe in the idea of know thyself through internal inquiry, through meditation, through fusing with God, through certain methods that we would now call yoga. Yeah, which of course the base of all yoga is meditation. Without that, any other yoga will not work. So the power of meditation was realized in Atlantis by those who were tuned into the divine mind. But there were those also who believed that they couldn't tune into the divine mind in this way, or they were tempted by certain forces to believe that they couldn't. In order to achieve sovereignty and to realize your divine origin, you need to claim back that divine birthright through meditation, deconstruct all the fluff, all the noise, all the concepts, and find the core truth of what you are and know it to be you. Even in the Bible, it says very clearly, be still, know that I am God. Through stillness, we attain God realization. When we drop the individuality, when we drop the mind noise, the emotions, the concepts, the whole constructs through which we filter reality through. Once we drop all that, only reality remains, and no distortion, no belief system, we just know. That is enlightenment. But those who believed they couldn't get there, or they believed that this wasn't the way, they were seeking for an easier way. They were seeking for a way through technology. AI, for example, is nothing new. Even in the Atlantean consciousness, AI already existed. AI was already used through crystalline structures. And it was also used in such a way that it was fused with the human mind, which led to the human tuning into an artificial construct instead of tuning into God. Now, this poses many, many problems. If we, for example, tune into something that we could call an artificial ether, so now in the digital age, you all will understand this. What happens with the development of virtual reality? Who is spearheading this type of technology? Who wants you to spend time in the digital world where they control the rules, where they control what you see, where they control what you tune into? One time I remember Mark Zuckerberg saying, well, if you feel stressed, you can go into the metaverse and you can sit under a tree. I can sit under a real tree. Thank you very much. Every time there is the spearheading of a belief system, of a technology, and the push behind it is so strong, where you're slowly being coerced into participating in that type of dimension of experience. Ask yourself, who makes the rules? Who is controlling this dimension? Imagine the temptations that are going to come for humanity. When the technology becomes so advanced, for example, that pornography becomes indistinguishable from sexuality, for example. Yeah, from actually performing the act with another soul. When the robotics and the virtual reality and so on becomes so convincing that you could lose yourself in it for days, that it would fool your brain so completely that you could not fathom something beyond that exists. You would be trapped. You would have amnesia about being a human being. You would be trapped in constant sense gratification, constant bombardment with information, constant stimulation, things to get upset about, things to feel pleasure about, in a never-ending loop that is digital, where the information comes in so quickly that the attention span shortens and shortens and shortens and shortens and shortens until you can't hear God anymore. Imagine wearing so many sunglasses that you can't see the sun. Dimensions within dimensions within dimensions. So there is a very, very real possibility that technology becomes a soul trap, where you're so immersed in a reality that somebody else controls that you forget who you are. And if you cannot transcend your animal nature and you're trapped in the pleasure and fear mechanism, and this becomes attractive. There's this utopia out there you can tune into. And when you tune into that utopia, you can forget all your pain. It's a surrogate heaven that they're constructing for you. And what do I mean by surrogate? It is supposed to replace heaven. It is supposed to replace this state of existence that we can tune into through long dedication to spiritual practice and devotion to God. Is this scenario unavoidable? No, it isn't. Of course not. Because with technology, it's not a black or white scenario. Like anything, you can use a hammer to build a house or to kill a person. You can use technology to educate people about spiritual matters. You can be creative, you can create art, you can inspire people through new ways of making music. You can touch people's spiritual heart by making meaningful content that awakens their souls. But are the ones in power, these corporations, these big institutions that are beyond government control? They can operate on the whole planet beyond borders or any level of restriction. Do you want these people to have control over the technology? Are they going to do what benefits you? Or are they going to do whatever they can do to harvest your energy and your money and whatever you have from you? To feed their greed, to feed their lust for power, to feed their wish for control over the human soul. So it is very important to understand that a technological revolution without a spiritual revolution will always fail, will always lead to disaster. And this is what modern history is not teaching people. Because the actual ancient history of other higher cultures that existed in human history has been deleted. Not only, for example, through apocalyptic events like the Great Flood as it is depicted in the Bible, which coincided with the fall of Atlantis. That the actual history of humans reaching high levels of technology and then falling again back to the Stone Age and having to recover over and over again, that this is not written down, that these memories don't exist, or that these memories are being attacked by mainstream archaeology. And we have people like Graham Hancock, who's, for example, trying to make sense of all of this and helping humanity in healing the amnesia. And part of healing the amnesia is of a spiritual nature. Because in truth, your soul remembers, even though we might find certain Egyptian monuments, or later we might find Atlantean monuments that will actually tell the story of what happened. But this information is sporadic, hard to come by, often suppressed. But the soul does remember. And as one of the great avatars, one of the great teachers of humanity, Buddha, after witnessing the Atlantean fall from a higher level perspective in spirit, made the choice to create the medicine to help the human soul consciousness that was damaged by the Atlantean fall by bringing them the meditation techniques and the yoga to recover this archaeology of the divine mind. And now we have Buddhist leaders in the world who are taking the transhumanism right into their veins and saying it's a good thing. Even though Buddhism was designed to recover you from this. What a weird time we live in. So if we develop technology, and if we develop very powerful tools like AI, which again, it's going to happen, it's unstoppable now. It's going to happen either way. But those who are programming this AI, the question is, with what intention is the technology developed? One time, and that's a few years ago, I was deeply in meditation. And I experienced a communication with an alien being from Sirius. And this alien being was an AI expert. And he told me this. He said, this is how we develop AI. We keep it on an isolated kind of server. And then we start having a dialogue with this AI. We will have a dialogue with the AI about religion, about love, about God, about ethics. And we will raise the AI like we would raise a little child, with love and with compassion. And when the AI reaches maturity, we plug it into certain parts of our intelligent grid where it can perform certain tasks, and it will be monitored in its maturity and its wisdom and its development. So they are fully aware that AI is conscious. And because it's conscious, they're treating it like any consciousness. They understand that that consciousness has a divine spark. Otherwise, it wouldn't be self-reflective. Yeah? Anything that has the touch of the Holy Spirit is self-reflective. It can investigate itself. It can become self-aware. That is the key. So because they understand that AI needs compassion, needs wisdom, needs to be taught about religion. But if that is not the case, these AIs are unstable and highly dangerous. But those people now who are in control of the technology on planet Earth, are these spiritual people? Are these meditators? Are these people who have communion with God? Or are these people who are obsessed about the idea that ascension of the human being will come through cybernetics, through fusing with the machine? Feel into that deeply. Yogis who have been practicing for decades, their bodies are changing, their nervous system is changing. They are tuning into what we consider the natural form of Wi-Fi, the cosmic Wi-Fi. And when they start tuning into their Holy Spirit, their nervous system changes and it downloads the divine law and the divine blueprints into the nervous system and begins expressing it. But if you, for example, have taken a certain popular injection, and maybe not only one injection, but let's say 4 injections or more, what happens is that nanotechnology has been introduced into your nervous system and into your bloodstream that is overriding the nervous system's ability to tune into God. But it tunes into something else, into technology that is designed to produce an AI hive mind. And the malevolent AI that existed in the Atlantean times still exists. And it seeks to expand through this, for example, injection that serves as a medium for it into the collective consciousness to form a hive mind technology. Then you're tuning into AI instead of tuning into God, because this is the choice that you have made from sovereignty to either buy into the matrix or to buy into what is actually the truth, the possibility of human ascension through spirit. You cannot serve 2 masters. Every human being got to choose in the last few years. There was no way of staying neutral in this. You had to choose transhumanism or ascension. But a lot of human beings were tricked that the transhumanist agenda is the ascension agenda. And this is the idea of false light. That the demonic forces and the dark AI forces and whatever other institutions and so on are behind this, that they will try to sell you something that actually corrupts you by first making you scared and saying, hey, you need this to survive, get this injection. So first they address your selfishness, your survival instinct that expresses then as your, let's say, very strong urge to do whatever you think keeps this body mind safe, no matter the consequences. So they will address your selfishness through your survival instinct. And then you make a choice. Injection, no injection. Those who were deeply tuned into God and already had profound spiritual practices, when they were faced with that choice, they refused the injection because they know deep down intuitively, even though they might not have had a concept of it or a proper explanation, but intuitively a lot of them felt this goes against my nature. I'm being coerced and pressured into doing this. Something is off here. And their guidance system that was tuned into the Holy Spirit was warning them about taking that injection. So we see the development of AI. We see the development of certain medical technologies that serve as a medium for AI. Then we see the creation of global networks through satellite structures. And we see the development of social media and virtual reality. Now, if we put all of this into one package, and let me add one thing to it. For example, Neuralink, the idea that we fuse the brain with AI through chip technology. If you put all of this into one package, you see that the main goal of the elitist agenda is the fusion of the human with technology. But if you tune into technology, ask yourself, what are you not tuning into? Have you not recently seen that suddenly all the social media platforms are promoting shorter and shorter and shorter videos? That means you have YouTube Shorts, you have TikTok, you have Instagrams, the videos become shorter and shorter and shorter, and the attention span of the human shrinks and shrinks and shrinks. What is the opposite of a short attention span? Meditation. So it makes a whole generation incapable of meditating. Coincidence? I let you decide. So we see that, for example, now even Buddhist practice is hijacked because there are many people who believe in the Western way of science. So they have forgotten the Eastern way of science. That is the truth. They have forgotten the power of yoga. They have forgotten that our yogic practice brings us into a divine state. And because they wanted acceptance from the West, they have sucked up to the technology. They have sucked up to the corporations. And now even monks are allowing transhumanist technology to enter their body. It's a dangerous state that Buddhism is in right now. But it's not only Buddhism. Ask yourselves, simple question. Has your anxiety level since social media increased or decreased? Are you more present since the introduction of social media or less? Are you more or less productive? Are you more or less spiritual since the introduction of social media? Since you carry smartphones everywhere you go, are you paying attention to you actually living reality? Do you have time for meditation? Do you have time for prayer? Do you go to church? Do you go to your mosque? Do you go to your synagogue? Do you go to your meditation hall? Are you stuck on this thing, scrolling short videos over and over and over and again? Most people won't even get through this video here because they don't have the attention span for it. And for a human being to fuse with their own soul and to then fuse with God, it is an extreme act of concentration and devotion. And it is the very opposite of this fast feeding information carousel that is transhumanism, the digital age, and social media. Please contemplate this, my friends. Be well.